listeners. My name is Dawn Hughes, and I'm the new Booktrib Book Club coordinator. We're here today with best-selling author Samantha Downing to talk about her twisty new thriller, A Twisted Love Story, a delicious tale that gives a whole new meaning to the dangers of modern dating. And that does not do the book justice at all because it's so fantastic. A Twisted Love Story is one of the books taking part in Booktrib's book club program for July. So thanks for taking a few minutes out of your schedule to answer a few questions, Samantha.
Thank you for having me.
It's my honor, actually. I'm a huge fan of your work. So I've obviously given a brief description, and the readers will be able to go in and, learn more from Goodreads or Amazon or wherever the link is. But I'd love, without spoilers, obviously, for you to tell us a little something about the book that we wouldn't read on the jacket cover.
Yeah, I think the one of the important things I tried to do in this book was to make there's a central relationship between Wes and Ivy that's in the book, and I tried to make the relationship itself a character in the book, because Wes and Ivy are individuals, but when they're together, they become something else. So the relationship and just the idea of love is really a character in the book. They aren't the only relationship in the book. All the characters have been impacted and their lives have changed due to relationships. And all of that I tried to encompass into one book with those defining relationships and how they change us and how they change who we are moving forward. So it is a twisted love story, but love is actually one of the characters.
That's such a fascinating way to say that. You're absolutely right. You think about that, and love is actually one of the characters. I'm hopeful that you've not had a relationship like Ivy and Wes's.
No, nothing so dramatic.
That's good. Did you have to do a lot of research for this book? And if so, was there something surprising that you learned? Like, are a lot of relationships like that?
Well, when I looked into definitions of various types of relationships, whether they were abusive or toxic or whatever word is being used, it was interesting to see what the criteria is and whether or not as compared to how people use it in the colloquial sense. Right. What people think as toxic may not be a clinical definition of what toxic is, and those do exist out there, or what abusive is, if it's emotionally abusive or psychologically abusive. They all have their own specific criteria. And I also was surprised on another totally different subject, because I don't want to give any spoilers. When I was writing this book, it was the first book I've written post-pandemic, and all the characters in the book work in an office. And I was thinking, there aren't as many people working in offices now. And 10 years from now, there will be people reading books that have never worked in an office, and they have always worked from home. And I started thinking about how our books are going to have to change the same way we incorporate technology into our books, because we have to incorporate the new world in which work from home really got accelerated by the pandemic. The whole concept of it just fast forwarded, 5 or 10 years because of that. So in this book, they do actually all work in an office, but I was thinking, I bet this might be the last book I'll be able to do that.
I've never actually we think about the impacts of COVID every day, obviously, how things have changed for everyone, but I have not thought about that, other than I work from home. So I've always worked from home. Well, not always, but most of my career. And so it doesn't really impact me the same way, but you're absolutely right. And just how we got used to that, I have friends who have gone back to the office and they're like, ugh, it's such a grind. But even my husband's in construction, and a lot of new office buildings aren't going up because they don't have use for them.
Exactly. And it makes it's unfortunate in a way, because it's one more setting that a fiction writer can't use. An office setting is an opportunity for a lot of people to socialize with one another and know each other and see
Right.
each other doing something sneaky. And, and if that whole office thing is gone and everybody's working from home, that setting now just becomes Zoom, and you don't get that same day-to-day interaction. So for a thriller writer, it's frustrating to lose that.
Right, absolutely. Didn't even think of that. Good call. There's obviously a lot of themes throughout, and I loved what you said earlier about the fact that love is a character in the book. But those themes and potentially other aspects of the book, why do you think A Twisted Love Story is such a great book club selection?
I think there's a lot of people will have a lot to say. I've heard from a number of the early reviewers and readers, when they talk to me about the book, they talk about their own relationships, and they talk about things they relate to or things they don't relate to. And it brings up feelings for them, and it brings up very strong opinions in some cases. So I think for a book club, it's a great book to have a discussion about, because you're going to have an opinion, whether you hated them or loved them or rooted for them or didn't root for them or have experience. I had one reader actually screenshot a page and sent it to me and said, I've had this exact conversation before. So
Wow.
people relate to it in different ways. And then there are other people who have never been in a relationship like this and can't understand it at all. So I think when you're dealing with love and relationships, it brings in all of your personal experience when you're reading it. And you just naturally do that to try to relate to the people or not relate to them.
One of the most powerful emotions we have. So of course, that's going to be something that's talked about for sure. Fantastic. Well, I need to find a book club now for me to have a discussion about it, but it's not enough to just blab to my friends. I know this is a little bit like asking, who your favorite kid is, but can you pinpoint what the best book you've read in the past year has been? Your favorite?
I was thinking about this, and it is a very, very tough question, because I read a lot and I love a lot of books and I have a lot of favorite writers. But I will mention one that came out by a debut author, called The Tip Line. And it's by Vanessa. I'm not sure if she pronounces it Cuddy or Cootie. It's Cuti. And it's called The Tip Line. And it had such a unique female narrator. The voice of it, she was funny, and she was just so engaging in the book. And the book was inspired by the Gilgo Beach murders in Gilgo Beach, New York, when they found all the bodies out on Gilgo Beach, and they didn't even know there was a serial killer out there, but they found all the bodies of these missing women. And the character in the book, she works at the police station as answering the tip line, and that's her job. And so it was a really interesting book, and very unique, very different than other things that are out there. I enjoyed it a lot.
Darn, I wish I'd thought of that protagonist. That's a good one.
It is to somebody be pulled into an investigation of this chaos just because she answers the tip line. It's a great premise.
I watched The Night Agent. I read the book too, obviously, Matthew Crick's book, and I said the same thing after that. Darn it, I didn't know there was that line in the White House that someone answers that it never rings. Why didn't I think of that? So that's good. As much as I would love to talk to you all day, truly, I do have to wrap this up. We only have a couple minutes, but thank you so much again for taking time to talk to us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope people enjoy the book or hate it enough that they still want to talk about it.
Have some sort of emotion about it.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. So for more information about Samantha's book, please check out the book club page on the booktrib.com website. Thank you.